Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing another movie review. This movie is a comedy from New Zealand, English language, released in the year 2019, directed by Taika Waititi, and this film is called Jojo Rabbit. So Jojo Rabbit is set in Germany during the World War. You've got this kid who's part of the Hitler Youth, and he aspires to be Hitler. Hitler's his hero, and he's just going on about how much he wants to be a Nazi. So he develops an imaginary friend, because he doesn't really fit in with the outside world. So his imaginary friend happens to be Hitler, and Hitler is giving him all of this advice, and it's advice that his mother doesn't share. Now, the mother is trying to steer this child into a different path because she knows what is behind the Nazi ideology, but she is struggling very much to do so. But then when this kid realizes that his mother is responsible for hiding a Jew in the attic, things become very, very complicated. On one hand, you've got the imaginary friend saying that this Jew is a monster, but on the other hand, the more that this kid knows this Jewish girl, the more they start to form this bond. So it's a very uncomfortable experience for this kid, but there are so many outside elements that are trying to steer him in a different direction. So whether or not he can see the light is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now, my thoughts on Jojo Rabbit. Taika Waititi is a household name now. Now, before he was that household name, before he went to the United States to make Thor Ragnarok, he was responsible for some of the funniest New Zealand comedies I've seen in a long time. You got What We Do in the Shadows and also Hunt for the Wilderpeople. Now, in the past, he has teamed up with Jermaine Clement. Now, Jermaine Clement is from Flight of the Conchords, a fantastic New Zealand comedy. And so Jermaine Clement and Taika Waititi, they are a fantastic team. But Jojo Rabbit was basically missing Jermaine Clement. So I thought, all right, well, because he's such a strong influence in his previous films, what is Jojo Rabbit going to be like with Taika Waititi himself? So I know this film has a lot of hype, a lot of people liked it, but then some people said it was a very touchy sort of experience because it's a touchy subject. It's the Third Reich, it's the Nazi Germany. It's basically a movie that is about a kid who idolizes Hitler, and obviously that is not someone you want to idolize, but how was Taika Waititi going to juggle this without being incredibly offensive? Now, for me, I love offensive humor, but I thought to myself, is he just going to go for the cheap tricks where he's just going to make really provocative jokes just for the sake of upsetting people, or is he going to make something so much more than you see? And after watching Jojo Rabbit, I will say that I share the hype that this movie has. I thought this is absolutely brilliantly made, and it's a fine example of how funny Taika Waititi is. This is a movie about Adolf Hitler, about a kid who's idolizing Adolf Hitler, but idolizing him under the false belief that he is doing something good. And this is what basically Germany were under during the Third Reich, is that they believed that Hitler was doing the right thing, and they were made to believe that the Jews were the enemies, and they were oblivious to the situation and to the realities of what Adolf Hitler and his regime were doing. And so this is how he got all of the support, and this is how Germany supported him without really knowing what was going on. So they were left oblivious, and this is a movie about a kid who aspires to be the great leader and aspires to be a Nazi, and because he doesn't really know what's going on, he is going down a path that is being manipulated. And so I thought, all right, the manipulation is not only a manipulation of this young boy, but it's the manipulation of the whole country. The innocence of the whole country is being used to a point that could further Adolf Hitler ideology. And so I thought that was interesting, is that, all right, well, Taika Waititi has taken such a provocative topic, but somehow he has made it a movie that is not offensive. This is a movie about coming of age. This is a movie about a boy growing up in a really bad environment. It's a movie about different people from the outside world trying to sculpture this boy into someone, and it's this boy's job to grow up very quickly and to actually decide for himself what is the right thing to do. And so this is a movie about brainwashing. This is a movie about this kid who's being told that Jews are really, really bad. And it's a movie that, you shouldn't judge people based on what others are saying. Judge them on how they react to you. And so when this boy starts to talk to this Jewish girl, I could sense that bond. I could sense that friendship. And this is, once again, a very heartwarming tale about making friends with someone that other people tell you that you can't. And so it's basically knowing someone before you judge them. And so Taika Waititi, he gives you a very, very warm-hearted film. It's a very, very emotional film, but it's emotional without getting into melodrama. And a lot of films go into melodrama because they're too lazy to create something that is built from a platform up. And so what I mean by that is that you use the really sad music, or you have someone cry, and that is supposed to gain emotion, but because you don't have anything behind it, the emotion doesn't work. But in this movie, Taika Waititi just does it so brilliantly, is that this young boy, he's being manipulated, but then as the movie goes along, there are things that happen that are just really, really sad, because it's not flogging you over the face with it. It's not trying to, cheat tricks. It's not trying to have shortcuts, and because there's no shortcuts, I felt as though I was going on the journey with this kid. And so on one hand, you do have a very emotional film, but on the other hand, you have a very funny movie, and the movie never really loses its tone. This is not a film where you have something really funny and then all of a sudden something really depressing, which is my main criticism of Ricky Gervais' TV show Derek. Now, if you've seen Derek, it's about a man who works at a nursing home, and the problem I had with that show is that on one hand you feel like killing yourself because it's so depressing, but then the next minute you're laughing, and so you're not sure what to think. Now, is this supposed to be funny or is this supposed to be depressing? And so because you have so much conflicting emotion, I couldn't enjoy that TV show. But Taika Waititi, he juggles it brilliantly, is that there is no tone, there is no genre, whether it's a drama or a comedy, that's taking full effect. It's all juggled very finely, and it's just half and half, and you go along with it. And so I never felt as though this is a different kind of film. I never felt as though at one stage I was watching a Monty Python film and then the next minute Schindler's List. I always felt, all right, he's taking a very provocative subject and he's making it a movie that is very uplifting, very warm-hearted. It does have emotional moments, but it's not beating your head. It's not beating you over the head with a specific genre, and because the tone is so finely tuned, I never felt as though it was a disjointed experience. And so I wasn't feeling depressed, and then I wasn't, being manic. It's like a bipolar, someone suffering bipolar, where you feel really down and all of a sudden you're feeling really, really good. And so that's the criticism I have of Ricky Gervais' TV shows, whereas Jojo Rabbit, I thought, it juggles it brilliantly, and so I thought the tone was very, very consistent. On top of that, you have a very vibrant cinematography. It's a very caricature sort of nature that the movie has. You've got Taika Waititi, who plays Adolf Hitler, that I thought was hilarious. The script is absolutely phenomenal, which is something of a trademark for Taika Waititi. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. You've got other actors such as Stephen Merchant, who was a Gestapo leader. I thought that was absolutely fantastic. And you've got up there Scarlett Johansson, who plays the mother of this young child. And so it's a very well-known sort of cast that I think have a lot of fun teaming up with an absolutely brilliant director. The Jojo Rabbit is a movie about Nazi Germany, but told in a way where it's more about a young boy's journey from the corruption of the outside world to actually understanding the world for what it is. And so I thought it was beautifully done, at the same time incredibly funny, and it's just a movie that you have to watch. It's a movie that does take on very provocative subject matters, but it does it in a way where it's not offensive. Now, for me, I love offensive humour, but this is a movie that doesn't somehow manages to steer away from being provocative and offensive, and it just makes a very heartwarming film that I think the whole family will really enjoy. And so if you are if you like Taika Waititi, then Jojo Rabbit is definitely for you, and as a result of that, I'm going to give this film 4.5 stars. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.